Well, I know you don't want to give away the whole game book, but you do have deportations, mass workplace stuff planned. Any other kind of category of deportations of interest?
Look, as the president said on stage many times, which I agree with 100%, it's going to be the same it was during his first administration, which is just a hell of a lot more of them.
The man you just heard from is Tom Homan, who has just been selected by Donald Trump to serve as Border Czar in his administration. Now, Homan's role will not require Senate confirmation, and we should get to know him, what he represents and what he intends to do as the Border Czar under Donald Trump. Now, he previously served in the first term of Donald Trump's administration as acting director of ICE. Homan also worked within ICE under Obama's administration. So he was at first a holdover from Obama's administration, and then during the Biden administration was no longer in the White House in any role. But now with Donald Trump getting elected for a second term, he will be the so-called Border Czar. Now, he stated earlier this year, quote, Trump comes back in January, I'll be on his heels coming back, and I will run the biggest deportation force this country has ever seen. They ain't seen crap yet, wait until 2025, okay? Now, he stated that the deportation operation would start with what he called the worst first. And I wanted to get a little more clarity on that. Like, what does that mean, the worst first? Like, where is the focus going to be, at least in the beginning of these so-called mass deportations? So there are about 50,000 undocumented immigrants in the United States who have committed crimes. They claim that they're going to go after them first. I'm sorry, I said 50,000, I meant 500,000. There's another 1.5 million who are basically given deportation orders, or deportation orders have been attached to what the next step is for them. And so they're first gonna target 2 million individuals who have either committed crimes or it has already been determined that they should be deported. After that, unclear exactly who they're gonna target, but what is clear is that Homan is absolutely a hardliner on the immigration issue.
Yeah, there's another one here where we're gonna have a really interesting point where things collide, right? So the parts that are clear, I agree with Anna, they will definitely go after the criminals first, and that makes sense. Everybody's gonna be on board for that. And if there's some that say, oh no, MS-13, I don't even know what they were saying. Like, I don't, so let me not impugn anyone because no one's actually defended not going after the criminals yet, but of course they should be deported. And so, and then the folks who already have adjudication, I get it. Those are gonna, whether we like it or not, and some portions of that we totally agree with, and some portions of the outer edges of that we might not agree with, but that's gonna happen, okay? Largely gonna happen. Okay, now number two is they might do things like back to remain in Mexico. And so those are all within the realm of what the American people voted for, in my opinion. Again, whether we like it or not, they won, we lost, and that I think that is solidly within the expectations of the American people. Now, the main expectation the American people have is that trans detainees who are undocumented not get gender reassignment surgery, but that I'm not sure that's ever happened once. So that's like, they ran $40 million of ads on it. So the reason I bring that up is because the Trump team should not take that as a license for yanking people out of their homes and going, well, I mean, I ran a rando trans ad, and so that gave me permission to route out 12 million people from their homes and destroy people's families, communities, and by the way, the economy. And if they do try to do that, I think they're going to get in for a rude awakening where the American people draw the line and go, no, you're going too far now.
No, I think you're right about that. In fact, what I'm particularly concerned about when it comes to Homan is that he was fully on board for the family separation, which was at the beginning of Trump's first term. Even after Trump himself signed an executive order to end the practice because he didn't like, first of all, he probably didn't like the fact that it was hurting his approval rating. That's when his approval rating really started to take a dip. But he claimed at the time that he didn't like the appearance of children being ripped from their family members. So I'm gonna get to that and give you more details on that in just a moment. But Homan, still 1,000,000% on board with that. And so the question is, will Donald Trump and his administration feel emboldened by the sheer numbers of people who voted for him this time around? Because it wasn't close, guys. Yes, he won the electoral college votes necessary, but he's also the first Republican candidate to win the popular vote since 2004. And so he might view that as a mandate to be particularly vicious in his immigration policies, but I think that he would basically take the wrong lesson or message from the amount of people who did support him. And look, to be fair to what you were saying earlier, Cenk, you're right. I mean, Donald Trump ran on this issue. It wasn't just that ad, okay? That ad was only meant to hurt Kamala Harris. Every single rally, every single speech, every single interview, Donald Trump kept talking about immigration, immigration, immigration. Those who voted for him kind of know that that comes with the package.
Yeah, so super curious to see how this plays out, because first of all, we're gonna do honest coverage. And you think like, well, I mean, doesn't everybody, I don't think you even think that anymore, right? So why is that relevant in this case, and why am I bringing it up? Because once he starts doing it, the first time he takes out anyone, even if it's like the Venezuelan gang or whatever, right? The left, not left entirely, not the voters, but some on the left on TV in the Democratic Party and some on the extreme left are going to howl like he's Hitler reincarnate for deporting a guy who's wanted on 13 different crimes, right? That is not the time to howl, and we will be very clear, hey, that is what we think people voted for. That makes sense, that doesn't make sense, right? We should push back here, even though maybe they did win on that, but it's our job to push back, right? So there's gonna be all of these gradations, and when they go too far, we'll be here to tell you when they go too far. So we're not just doing it based on partisanship, but on what he did. And so our one tool that we have, it's pretty much the only thing we have left, is that Donald Trump likes to be popular. And so if it turns out that he's really trying to bring back 12 million people, and he's just ripping one community apart after another, my guess is the American people are going to push back enough that he stops, but I don't know. I mean, he could dig in, and he can go in a wrong direction, right?
There's another part of this equation that we need to be real about, whether voters like it or not. And there's going to be a point where there's a clash between anti-immigration hardliners and the business community. Because whether people like it or not, undocumented immigrants are woven into the fabric of the American economy. And so the idea of deporting tens of millions of people would destroy the economy. Now, those who don't like undocumented immigrants, want all of them out, you have to accept the fact that it will cause problems with our economy. Donald Trump is pulled in two different directions on this issue as it pertains to the economic community, of course, and he wants to have good numbers and good results with the economy. And then the other direction he's getting pulled in is by the anti-immigration hardliners. So we'll see if that clash ever comes to fruition. I am curious to see, though, how he will act if that does happen. So let me go back to Homan, Tom Homan, who of course is the Border Czar pick for Trump. I want to talk about what he had to say about some of Donald Trump's earlier immigration policies. He stated that the policy of separating children from their family members at the border needs to be considered for a second Trump term. Though Homan's agency didn't play a direct role in separating families, he was one of the policy's most fervent advocates, both in public and in private, according to people who worked with him. In 2023, for instance, Homan stated the following. Anyway, I woke up every day pissed off because this administration destroyed the most secure border in our lifetime, and I'm sick and tired of hearing about the family separation. I'm still being sued over that, so come get me. I don't give a crap, okay? Now, let me just remind you all about how disastrous that policy was. So disastrous that Donald Trump finally signed an executive order to end the practice. But an estimated 5,000 children were separated as a result of that terrible policy. And as of this year, 1,360 of those children had yet to be reunited with their family members because their parents were deported. And our government under Donald Trump's administration did not keep track of them. So the parents are nowhere to be found. And these kids have been without their parents since Trump's administration, guys. I mean, just complete and utter disaster. And so, as Mother Jones reported in 2018, Trump was like, okay, this isn't making me look good. So he ended the practice, but the damage had already been done.
Yeah, last thing I'll say is, let's also put aside yet another unproductive slogan, which is abolish ICE. Guys, stop making it seem like we're against all law enforcement. That's a terrible framing. Like, for God's sake, can I get the word reform back? Like, can we reform ICE? Can we reform policing? I know some on the left will say, oh no, that's way too soft. We have to rip the guts out of it. Well, how'd that work out for us? We didn't. Now we're going in the opposite direction because people thought that our language, the way that we framed the issue, some of the things that we asked for were too extreme. Now they're pushing back too far in the opposite direction, exactly what we were worried about. So I don't think abolish ICE is at all helpful. And if you wanted to do that, you did the exact opposite. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.